Welcome back to Lenz's movie review, episode number 111. This time I'm reviewing the sequel to The Wolverine and X-Men First Class and X-Men Last Stand. This is X-Men Days of Future Past. Yep. Once again directed by Bryan Singer, first time since X2 X-Men United, released in 2014. This film essentially is a goodbye to the original cast of the original trilogy, minus, of course, Xavier and Logan. They pop up in their movie after this. But yeah, a majority of the cast comes back to the movie, and that's last see of them because they don't reappear after this one. This one is a time travel story. Yep. Yeah, we jump ahead to the year 2023. Yeah, it's a slightly different future than how it is in the comics. Yeah, in the original comic it was 2013. So, yeah, 10 years later, perfectly fine. Yeah, and apparently in this timeline, it's different how it was in the regular universe, where mutants are basically being hunted, almost near extinction. Here, it's like most of the population. I have no idea why. It's just that, well, that's silly to put how the thing is. We see briefly a little bit of the future, see some character with lower Emma. Then we see some X-Men led by Kitty Pryde. Yes, Kitty Pryde. With Iceman, Colossus, Bishop, Blink, Warpath, and Sunspot. Bishop, Blink, Warpath, and Sunspot. This is their first ever live action appearance. And there's something weird about the actress who plays Blink. After this film's released, she apparently dropped off the radar for a few years because she was hiding from the Chinese government for not paying her taxes. That's not a joke. That seriously is true. Yeah, it's particularly a little weird. The fact that, well, of how it is when it comes to this woman. And the one thing you at least get appreciate about this woman is that, like, yep. So they reveal in a flashback that apparently the whole mutant hunting thing happened and Beast was killed. That's the reason why he's not seen here. He's seen later on in the film. Perfectly fine. Despite the fact when he's last seen X Last Stand, he took a job and apparently later on, apparently people hated him so much so he got killed. Yep, so they basically try to find this particular device in Moscow of all places. They find it and they say they go back. Kitty Pryde apparently has this new ability of time traveling back in time. Yes. Does the Bishop, they go back in time 3 days. Just to explain that's how far they can actually go anyway with their power. Though Wolverine goes back a lot further than that. Yep. Then later on they meet up with the big guns of the X films, which is Magneto, Professor X, Wolverine, Storm. All played by the same people who played him in the original trilogy. Yep. Storm, meanwhile, this is for her. This is the first time X Last Stand that she's appeared. Patrick Stewart, same thing. Well, actually, he appeared in the Wolverine, though he appears one more time in Logan. I'll talk about that in my next video. Yep, they're the Chinese temple because this is a place where they can go back in time. And they explain the reason why this, and they're being hunted by, what are they hunted by? The frickin' Sentinels. Days Future Past. What's the most common thing associated with this particular time, this particular storyline? The Sentinels. Yes, the frickin' Sentinels. Though they look a little bit different than, of course, than they were portrayed in the comics. Yeah. But when they show them the one that you show in when they do the time travel story, yeah, I'm perfectly understand when I saw that particular image. So they have Wolverine go back in time. Now there was two reasons for this. One, because Hugh Jackman is the big money is the biggest, and two, in story, it makes perfect sense because of his healing factor. So they go back and he goes back in time in his younger body from 40 years ago. So he goes back in time, and he wakes up in 1973. And from what I heard, a lot of ladies love this scene. Why? Because he gets out of bed with a woman, and you see his butt. Yes, PG-13 movie, and you see Hugh Jackman's butt. I heard a lot of ladies love this scene. So, yeah. And he's there for like looking around, like, okay. So he's there for like roughly about 3 minutes, and then a bunch of goons pop in. Like, hey, like here gets you about being with that girl who happened to be a mobster's daughter. I was with her several times. Okay. And then it's like, you never see these before. And this is freaking Bone Claws. Yeah, his Bone Claws, Max Ward's Wolverine. Okay, this actually does make sense. It's a fact he actually did have these. I mean, this is before he basically hooked up with the program, so yeah, it's perfectly fine. Kills the guys, no problem. I mean, of course, Bone hurt just as bad as adamantium. It's like, okay, so steals their car. Like, I need your car and your clothes. So he takes your car and clothes, drives up to the Xavier Institute. By the way, it actually looks different than it does in the regular X films. I think they shot a different house. Yeah, it's actually a bit smaller. He goes inside, and it's similar. The interior is very similar to how it was portrayed in the original X-Men films. It's similar, but not exactly. It's a little bit different, but most of it's the same. They keep the same exterior for the next X-Men film, X Apocalypse. Yep. So yeah. So he's looking for Charles. Like then he gets a fight with Beast. Yeah, Beast shows up, and then he's looking for Charles Xavier. He's like he's not here anymore, and he's walking. And he knows about thinking. He saw a previous. I'm like, wait, didn't Magneto paralyze you by accident? Well, there's an explanation for that. He's been taking some drugs. Yes, drugs to suppress his mutant telepathy. And that apparently is the reason why he's in his wheelchair, his telepathy. I don't know, it's particularly very weird. They never thoroughly explain it very much. He does do a lot of walking, and eventually he does get in the wheelchair, which you at least got to praise him for that. Yeah, so after some talking, apparently Beast has been there. They explain what happened to the staff and the students, despite the fact that they actually opened up a school. The reason why there's nobody here is because a lot of people got drafted to the Vietnam War. That's simply the gist of it. And Vietnam War is a minor plot point in this movie. Yes, the Vietnam War, one of the most controversial wars in the last 100 years, is a minor plot point in this movie. And yes, because it's 1973, we have Richard Nixon's movie. A very somewhat accurate depiction of Richard Nixon in a way. Yep, so basically, thanks to explanation, we got a free Magneto, and we also got to get somebody to break him out to stop basically what happened with the Sentinel program. Yep. And of course, you have Mystique. Yeah, Mystique. Who's played by, not Rebecca Romijn, who's played in the movies. She's played by Jennifer Lawrence. Those of you who think you like Jennifer Lawrence. Wasn't she in another famous film series that basically she was part of? Yes, she was part of The Hunger Games. Now, I don't think she had a problem coming back for this film. She did have a problem coming back for the next film because she was really lazy. Yeah. So apparently she did some research, get some snooping around, and like a lot of the characters in the previous movie, with the exception of her and Beast and Havoc, all were apparently killed by a new character, Bolivar Trask, who in this film was played by Peter Dinklage. Yeah, and here's the thing. A lot of people point this out, though. Despite that Peter Dinklage is like really, really short, nobody points it out in the movie. No, nobody does. Peter Dinklage portrays pretty much a very almost accurate portrayal. Like, almost not exactly a carbon copy from the comics, but it's a very good performance as Bolivar Trask. At least give him a lot of praise for that. And when they show up the Sentinels, like, wow. Those kind of look like the original. It is a similar looking appearance to how it looked back in the 60s. It's similar, but not exactly the same. Though they're introduced a decade later than they're actually used in the comics. hmm Yep. And when they're seeing in action, he's like, when he's asked like how many Sentinels has he built, he says he built only about 6 of these things. Which, yeah, that's perfectly true. hmm Oh yeah, where's Magneto in this film? Where apparently he confessed to killing JFK, so he's put in a prison beneath the frickin' Pentagon, of all things. They had to break him out. Okay. So, Logan's like, I know a guy who can help us. So they go visit Quicksilver, played by Evan Peters. But Evan Peters is supposed to be in his teens in this film. Yeah, here's the thing about these films. They don't have these characters age over the course of these films, which a lot of people pointed out, though, when it comes to these films. It's like these films take place like next day or year or two. Not 10 freaking years. Yeah. Do you know how old Magneto's supposed to be in this movie? He's supposed to be at least about, I'd say, in his 50s, I'd say. Could be 30s. Yeah, it could be 30s. I mean, he's probably supposed to be pushing his 50s, but yeah, Fassbender does look like he does age in movies. Everybody else, nope, they don't. They do not look like they age at all, which is quite stupid. Yeah. And Beast, well, he can get away with it because he's covered with fur. So him I can get away with that. Everybody else, well, Wolverine, healing fact. Okay. But Xavier, he should be a heck of a lot older than he is now. hmm Oh yeah, they do confirm the whole about Mystique being Xavier's adopted sister, which I thought that was a very strange choice of First Class to do, but okay, fine. They acknowledge it by the fact it watched the films, like the first Jackson films, there is no mention of Mystique being Xavier's adopted sister. That was something new they added to First Class. So they bring it to Pentagon. Well, first they pick up Evan Peters, pick up Quicksilver. You're probably thinking, Quicksilver, didn't he also show up in the following year in Avengers, in Avengers Age of Ultron, and also pop up in Captain America Winter Soldier? Yes. From what I've heard about this particular situation, is that Fox and Disney own co-ownership of the characters Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. And while Evan Peters does survive this film, not Quicksilver. Nope, he gets killed off in his appearance. Though I heard there was a couple reasons why. I'll talk about that when. Well, I'll probably talk about where if elaborate on it a little bit more. Is that he was over money and over sharing the rights to the character. I'll talk more about that when I talk about Age of Apocalypse, which came out a year after this film. So they recruit him, no problem, and of course they feel that yeah he has powers, and well they know he has powers. He's a mutant, and Xavier of course is hiding his powers because while he's walking. Wolverine shows up his powers, no problem. He's like, okay, we're about mutants. Okay, so let's go pick up Magneto. And we have this wonderful scene, basically. Puts on his headphones and plays music, and they all freeze from it. And this is, yeah, and of course, then they break out Magneto, no problem. They get out of the pain and they got really easily thanks to Quicksilver's like great scenes. One of the best scenes of the whole film. And he's like, and he gives them the keys to the car, and they take a private jet, and they go straight to Vietnam to stop Mystique. Yep. And Wolverine tells Xavier's like, once this is over, I want you to go find Scott, Jean, and Ordero and recruit them to be your students. Basically, same terms. And he's like, okay, I'll do that. He does, with the very next film. Though Jean Grey was recruited prior to the events of the next film. What gets that when I talk about Apocalypse. So they go to Vietnam to stop Mystique from killing Bolivar Trask. Bolivar Trask, now I should point out, in last name, was played by a black guy. Yeah, they according to Fox, they kind of confirmed these are two completely different characters who just have a similar name. So, yeah, and apparently Trask not only presented the evidence about he presented a presentation of the Sentinel program to the president, which was a nod to Watergate in here because here's the thing: when I heard about Nixon. He was one paranoid president. He actually had a recording device in his freaking desk, recorded every single freaking conversation. Though, for what I've heard, is that, well, how should I put this? The fact that, well, a lot of the presidents, basically the last few presidents before him actually did this, well, he was the first person to confirm it with. So there's nods in that. So when Travis gets to Vietnam, he presents this to the Vietnamese government, which bites him in the butt later on in the movie. Yep, that's Missy comes in, tries to shoot Trask, misses, and briefly Wolverine reverts back to his, well, 1973 self, and then he gets back normal thanks to, well, something going on in the future. Yeah, apparently the Sentinels found them, and Xavier has to freeze time briefly just so that Wolverine complete his mission. So yeah, he returned back normal, and then of course, well, Wolverine sees Stryker, and he goes out to kill him because he knows what he's gonna do in the future. Yeah, Stryker. Maybe this is Bryan Singer's way of telling Gavin Hood, "Hey, your film sucks, so I'm gonna kill Stryker now." Yeah. But lucky enough, Xavier does stop him, and so yeah, they stop. Also, they had this wonderful scene in the film, I think prior to this, where I think it was on the plane where Xavier, well, the 1930s, they meets up with the future Xavier with Patrick Stewart. You have the two Xaviers on screen. He sees the future, and this is probably going to be the only two characters that interact with each other because you don't see Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender interact with each other. Nope. At least these two make perfect sense to do. Yes, perfect sense. Also, before I continue, there's a nod to the previous film that Wolverine appeared in First Class, where he basically told him F off, which they mentioned in this film. And, of course, Wolverine does remember that particular moment, and, well, he actually apologized to him for that. So, yeah, they stop Mystique, and sort of in a way, thanks to this, her being wounded, the mutants sort of get out of the public. So, they go after, like, Magneto goes after freaking Mystique, and she goes to DC. They rush back to DC. Magneto goes off on his own. Of course, he stops by the Pentagon to pick up his helmet first, which he got that become bacon in the last movie, which I'll talk about First Class in my next review. Yes, I'll talk about First Class before I talk about X and Apocalypse. So, first thing he does to get to DC right after he gets his helmet, puts a suit on, and then he uses his magnetic powers to lift up an entire stadium. And what does he do with it? Drop it around the White House. Yep, that's what he does. While there's a press conference going on, and the fact there's freaking Sentinels there. Yeah. So, basically, Magneto's there to kill Mystique. And Mystique has got, like, plastic bullets to kill him. Yeah, so she eventually reveals herself and she gets the gun away. One of the people who work there. And, of course, she does take down Magneto. Of course, Magneto had pinned down Xavier during the fight. As for Wolverine, well, he got wrapped up in metal and he got thrown in the lake. I heard one reviewer say, yeah, this is our film. Go screw off. And then later on he gets picked up by Stryker. He says, well, we have a program we'd like to get this guy involved in. So yeah, that's a hint of setting up for the Weapon X program, which will be a minor plot point in the next film. Yep. So, Mystique knocks out Magneto, takes off his helmet, has Xavier use his power to use him to take the metal, the debris off him, and of course, well, Beast takes Xavier home. They restart the Xavier Institute. And as present day, well, everybody gets killed, though I did hear something that apparently the guy who played the original Colossus, he was not very happy with his death scene because they played music over him screaming. Yeah, almost like everybody in the future got killed. And then because of the change of the past, it alters future. So Wolverine wakes up in the future, in believe it or not, like where he wakes up in the future, everything has changed. The Xavier suit is perfectly back up running, and Jean Grey and Cyclops are alive, despite the fact these two died back in Last Stand. Yeah. Oh yeah, and also James Marsden is back in this film, and you see him wearing a different visor than he was last seen in. It's the future. Though this is undone by Logan, the next film. Yep. Yeah, he asks like, okay, a little throw like got my It's like, okay. He says, he's like, oh, hello, old friend. Yep. This movie overall is really. I may have missed some stuff for this movie, but this movie overall is really good. It's got a good amount of humor in it, and I know for a fact Casino does come back for one more X-Men film, X-Men Apocalypse, which got mixed reviews. But at least views weren't as bad as I heard for X-Men Dark Phoenix. Give this film a 10 out of 10. Excellent movie to watch, and I do highly recommend it. Nothing really bad about this movie, not really, no. But at least though that like people want to see a crossover, well, you got a cross between two different casts, the reboot X-Men cast and the original cast, which get your high praise of Singer for doing that. Yep, and this is the first 2 times he will direct the first class cast, and the last time he'll do the original cast. Because next film is all the first class cast with next film, though he doesn't do Dark Phoenix. That's done by the Singer that did Last Stand. Okay, so that's it for this particular review. My next thing I'm going to do is a review of the newest episode of Boruto. And probably next review after that, probably a review of Toshi's Wrestler Chronicle, okay? 2 next view. Bye.